Right now, though, very pleased to have with us the author of the brand new book, My Story of America, Inspirational Stories of Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. Michael T. George is with us. Michael, how are you, sir?
I am doing great, Cam. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on the program today.
Hey, we have a mutual friend in your buddy Rick Stewart, so he said say hello to you.
Absolutely. Well, you tell Rick I said hi, and, I see a lot of familiar names here. You've got Colonel Oliver North right in the forward. Jim DeMint with a very nice quote, a must-read for every man, woman, and child, he calls this book.
It is absolutely that. It is a book that is of real people, authentic Americans, true stories that need to be told.
And now, when you say, the stories of everyday Americans, the name of this book, My Story of America, is this the story of Americans and why they believe this country is so great, how this country has helped them succeed?
Absolutely. Basically, what I did is I interviewed people nationwide that have just incredible life stories that really tie into life and liberty, faith and freedom. And so these people share their own true stories about what America means to them. For example, one of the ladies in the book, Sonia, she grew up in Nazi Germany, and she was a member of the Hitler Youth because at age 10 she was required to be. And she tells the story about how they taught her to basically worship Hitler and sing songs of praise to him and, carry flags with his picture. And she tells about how she ends up finding out the truth about him and coming to America and becoming an American citizen, and how she loves the freedom and liberty she found here.
It's amazing. You've got another story from Germany, Harold, whose mom was a communist, and after World War II actually moved from West Germany into East Germany. And there actually were a few people. Now, most of the people were going the other way. They were leaving East Germany and going to the West, but you had some folks who actually moved to East Germany, and Harold was 2 when he moved there and actually grew up indoctrinated into communism, right?
Yes, and when he actually, what I would like to say is found the light of the fallacy of the communist system, when he left that system, he now basically became an enemy of the government. He was being tracked by the secret police, the Stasi. They monitored his mail. They monitored his phone calls. They had people, what was known as a rubber ear, a person that basically would keep tabs on you, reporting back to the Stasi of where he was. So because he was against the current government, he was basically being spied upon.
And that's what I think is so compelling about this book, Michael. For those of us who have grown up in the United States and have lived this incredible life, I think that is greater than any other nation on earth. To read these stories and to understand, we may see in the news and we may know on some level, there are a lot of other countries that are horrible places. I really wouldn't want to live there. But to read the stories of your fellow Americans who chose to come here, who fought to come here, who sacrificed to come here, to leave this madness and this despotism and authoritarianism behind, I don't think you can help but appreciate what we have here more after you read your book.
Their stories are compelling, and they draw you in because this isn't just facts and figures. This isn't political doublespeak. This is what they lived. They're pouring out their hearts to Americans to say, this is why I love the country. This is why I find it great. And so I wanted to make sure that these people's stories are not forgotten because they are impactful. It's kind of like if you've ever sat in a church service or in school and you've heard a teacher or a preacher begin to tell you facts and figures, as soon as they stop and begin to tell a story, everybody listens and everybody remembers the story. They might walk out of that church or out of that school not remembering the facts and figures that were spoken, but they do remember the story, and that story impacts them. That's why I feel it's evident that people ought to get the book, because it will impact them in a positive way.
Absolutely. And by the way, I should say, there are stories, not just those stories of those who have come to this country, but there are plenty of stories of those born here. In fact, can you elaborate on a story here, Kyle and Jeremy?
Yes, absolutely. These were two gentlemen that grew up in different parts of the country. The one gentleman stole $230,000. The other gentleman was a drug dealer since age 14. They end up in federal prison and meet. And you would think that this has just got to get worse. But their story takes an amazing turn, and through things that you could just say other than the providence of God, they end up creating a music group, and they actually tour the nation today telling people about the dangers of what they were involved in, but also trying to encourage people, youth and people that have been in prison, and just about the second chance they got in America. And that's what America does. They give you that second chance at life.
Absolutely. Michael, what inspired you to actually collect these stories and to talk to so many Americans like this?
I also do inspirational and motivational speaking. That's how I met Rick Stewart. I've done some events where I've spoke with him. And as I travel the nation and I meet people, I've heard people just share great stories that I thought, other people need to know about this. I wanted to write a book that brought people back to the positive aspects of America. And I wanted to write a book that everybody could grasp and say, hey, this is something I can share with my friends. The perfect example, my mother works in a small diner in a small town in West Virginia, and she's been basically telling every man that comes in, every woman that comes in about the book. And I met a gentleman the other day that told me, he said, look, I haven't read a book in 35 years, and I picked yours up, and I've read it 3 times already. The stories are powerful. I can't get them out of my mind. This is what America should be. Every person needs this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And I got to tell you, I agree. These are powerful stories. And, Michael, every day the media tells us what's wrong with this country. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody else. I was just telling gun owners about the really bad gun bills that are out there in California right now, bills that I personally wouldn't want to see become law if I were a California resident, and even living in Virginia, I'm not happy about it. So, we talk about the problems in this country and some of the things that we want to change in this country every day. But we absolutely have to remember the things that we love about this country, the things that go beyond party. We're not talking R versus D. They go far beyond politics. There is something I think that is woven throughout the fabric of American life that is special and unique in this world. And I think it comes from the generations of Americans who have sacrificed for freedom, sometimes not even for their own, but for future generations. And I'll be really honest with you, Michael, I've got 5 kids. I'm very concerned that the country that I'm going to be leaving them is going to be a country in which we have taken for granted and perhaps even abused those sacrifices that have been made for us.
Well, I can feel the same thing that you do. I was in Oregon this past summer, and I actually spoke at a minor league baseball game. Right before the first pitch was thrown, I go out onto the field, and I share the story of the national anthem. And you could watch people all in the crowd. You got thousands of people sitting there. You could begin to watch tears roll down their eyes as they finally knew the story behind the song that they sing at every ball game. That's kind of really the motivation behind the book. There's ordinary people out here that are really trying their best to live this American dream and to do their best. And they really make up the true fabric of the country. They want a voice. They want their words to be heard. They want their values to be known about. And so one of the things that I have encouraged people is, look, the book My Story of America is a book that you get for yourself to read, but you get it and you give it to somebody, because what you do is you help perpetuate liberty by doing that, because those stories are all about life and liberty, faith and freedom.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Michael, I wish you the best of luck. How can folks get My Story of America?
Several ways. It's available at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Apple's iBook, MyStoryOfAmerica.com, FreedomCongressBooks.com, any of those.
All right. Michael, thank you again for your time, sir. Great talking to you today.
Thank you, Cam.